Hey there, Fright Night friends. If you like Scary Movie Fright Night and you haven't done so yet, think about heading over to Apple Podcasts and leaving us a rating and a review. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, tell us what you want to hear more of. If you do that, then we'll grow our numbers, we'll be able to reach more people and bring you more Scary Movie Fright Night fun.
And we will love you forever.
Well, that too. We'll love you forever. We will write all of your names on our arm in
permanent ink.
Permanent ink. We will have, yes, you leave a rating and Sam will get your name tattooed on him.
Perfect. What am I signing up for?
All the things. But without further ado, here's the bonus episode. This is Scary Movie Fright Night, a podcast about two guys who just watch scary movies. I'm Chris, and I love scary movies.
And I'm Sam, and I hate scary movies.
My body just shook. Give me the heebie-jeebies.
No, don't. All you have to do is stay inside in your bed, and then you won't get murdered.
Okay. Now you have that recorded.
Welcome back, Friday Night friends, to our first bonus episode since season... Well, I lied. Okay, so our second bonus episode.
Yeah, we can count the awards show as a bonus episode.
Yeah, it was bonus, awards wrap up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're here for a bonus episode. If you haven't read the title, then we'll surprise you a little bit. But as of today, Megan is by far the most popular episode that we published in season 1. I mean, that was only 13 movies. And so we decided that we would go back, watch the unrated version and see, is it scarier? It didn't rate too high on Sam's scale. It rated high on his dance scale. He danced to it a lot, but it wasn't the scariest of the season. So here we are.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to rewatch a movie, well, a different version, but still to watch the same movie that we had seen, which you did with Evil Dead Rise, right? You watched it again after we watched it together. But I had not gone back to rewatch any of these movies because scary movies aren't my thing. I'm not going to go rewatch them over and over. But it was kind of nice to rewatch Megan. Megan was early in the season. What was that? The second movie that we did, or the third movie? I think so.
I think third movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So it had been a while. So it was kind of fun to revisit it after having watched a bunch of other scary movies and just go back and think okay, what did it feel like when I watched this the first time, and how did it feel this time? So yeah, good idea. Good idea to have us rewatch Megan.
It's also interesting how just a couple months later, however long it's been, I lost track, but just a few months later, there are things that I forgot already. And I, watching it again, just kind of added to my knowledge of the movie, kind of, solidified it a little bit.
What did you forget?
I knew what was going to happen. We talked about it, I think, during maybe the awards show when we weren't sure exactly who got killed in the elevator and if we liked them or not.
Yeah.
That got answered. We didn't remember what happened to Bruce.
True.
I guess most of it I remembered, but just watching it is interesting. I think the second time now it's not super complex, so it's not like we missed a lot, and then the second time we're like, oh, revelations. But yeah.
So wait, let's go back and answer those two questions. So during the award show episode that we did, we were talking about Megan, and we were talking about the elevator scene where she kills. I forgot that it was two guys, actually. I thought she just killed one person on the elevator with the paper slicer. Okay, so and you guys listening are probably like, how could you forget? It's an iconic scene. So rewatching the movie, now we remember it was two guys. It was the CEO of the toy company who she stabs through the back with the paper cutter. And then do you want to tell everybody who the second guy was?
Yeah, I actually wasn't paying attention. So yeah, she stabs the first guy, David, with the paper cutter, and then the second guy. It's and I can't believe we forgot this because it's Kurt, the assistant, and she makes that whole scenario up about how he killed David and then decided to kill himself. Though, and we'll talk more about the other differences. Then she slices his throat with the cutter, and it's it's bloodier.
In the unrated version.
In the unrated version.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that your story does not live up to itself. This dude didn't cut his own throat with a paper slicer, but
Right. Yeah. How did he stab the boss from the other side of the elevator and then crawl in
And
the
then slice his
elevator
own
and
throat?
then slice his
Yeah.
own throat? Yeah. Come on,
For a
Megan.
know-all AI, her plausible deniability is not. It's not really there.
No. Yeah.
But
She's missing some
A for
missing
effort,
some
I guess.
details.
A
Yeah.
for AI.
A
No,
for
that's not-
AI effort.
Yeah.
So those are the two people who died on the elevator. And then the other thing we couldn't remember was what happened to Bruce.
Oh, Bruce! I got so excited when I saw Bruce. I think I literally yelled out loud, "Bruce!" And then the rest of the people in the house were like, what?" And I was like,
Wait,
"Oh, sorry.
Can I tell you something else that I misremembered about Bruce? Because
Yeah.
we gave Bruce the Unsung Hero Award in the last episode, but
Yeah.
I swear in my mind, I thought Bruce had some lines. Like I thought he said something or communicated.
he, spoke?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was that I thought that he said. I just thought because he was a character, he must have said something, but he literally says nothing.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't say anything, but what's the girl's name? Katie?
The aunt?
Katie?
Katie's
No,
the daughter.
the little girl.
Yeah, Katie.
Yeah. But Katie though says that like epic line that I'm gonna mess up right now, but she's like, there's someone else,
Another
Bruce
member
or
of the
like,
family. Yeah,
another
yeah.
member of the family. Yeah, and so it's almost like I feel like in his nonverbal soul, Bruce was saying, "Take that, evil doll." But he there
Take
was no
that, crazy doll.
Yeah, but that's really funny. You thought he spoke. He spoke to you. He spoke to your heart.
He did. He spoke to my heart.
That's why you voted for Unsung Hero.
Unsung Hero, exactly.
Hero.
Yeah. So what happened to Bruce in the end?
We never find out. He helps them battle Megan. They take her out, even though, we know that there's a sequel eventually coming out. We know that, the little wannabe Siri doll or whatever was moving around at the end. But, after the cops show up, it cuts to black and we never find out. I'm like, well, no wonder we didn't remember. They don't show what happened to poor Bruce. They should have had a cutaway scene where, Bruce is helping do the chores around the house, show that he made it. But
the last thing that Bruce is the last thing he did was he fell on top of Aunt, what was her name? Gemma? So Katie is like trying to use the gloves that control Bruce. And I guess she accidentally, I don't know, he like tripped or slipped or something. And he just falls over, collapses on top of Gemma. They needed a way to like box her in so that she couldn't save the day.
They used
so they were like,
Bruce.
Yeah, we'll just let Bruce fall on top of her. I was like, this is, and then she's like flailing around underneath him, like, I can't get out. I was like, come on, get it together.
He slipped on the like hair from Megan that had like been ripped off or something. Like it got caught on his foot. Like what a weird. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a little weird. At least it wasn't a human scalp; it was just an AI scalp.
True. So that's the last we see of Bruce. Is he's just like laying on the floor.
That's the last we see. He's just taking a nap. I'm sure he's fine.
He's just resting.
If he's not back for Megan 2.0, I'm gonna be sad.
Yeah, they really should include him. They should give him a voice and they should make him autonomous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bruce Autonomous. Nope. Nope. That's not real. So did you take anything away from this movie when you watched it again and you were like, yep, I remember that it's still good or it's still bad? I just made a couple notes. I'm curious if you had anything that gave you any certain feelings going back through and rewatching.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So some of the scenes are like, okay, wait, what am I trying to say here? Let me think about this for a second. I know what I want to say. So I think the first time I watched it, there was a couple of like eye roll scenes where a character would say something and I was like, oh, that's so stupid. Like it just kind of felt like the plot holes were a little too deep. I'm trying to think about a specific moment. I think it was just like kind of obvious that the doll was like fucking crazy and they were just like, oh, maybe we don't know what we should do about it. And I'm like, y'all get it together. Look at what's happening. So I don't know. There was a couple times that it just felt a little cheesy, both the first time I watched it and the second time that I watched it.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing, really, this is just dumb stuff, but like, because it opens up with those stupid perpetual pets. And like, when you talk about like opening up on cheese, like you're watching it and these like pets are dumb and they're like pooping out pellets. And it's just like, like we talked about all the movies in season 1 that like had such strong openings, Midsommar and The Witch. And this one's opening just makes you kind of want to turn it off and be like, I don't know if this is what I want to watch. But those perpetual pets, still creepy, still ugly. I would never buy that for myself or my child. And the only other thing that I made note of is that scene when the therapist shows up, and it's like the day after her sister died, and she's expecting her to like have toys and have everything perfected.
Yes.
And she's just like super judgy. And I'm just like, okay, I get that she's looking out for the child, but like,
yeah.
It didn't seem believable. It seemed a little bit,
that was a good example of a moment that I couldn't think of, but that's exactly what I'm talking. Where she was like giving Gemma the like side eye when she was trying to play. She was trying to tell her like, well, this is what this toy is. Like, she's a toy expert. Like, she really cares about this toy. Why does she care so much about Katie's feelings, but not the feelings of the adult or Gemma?
Right.
I mean, I know she's the therapist for the kid, but whatever. Yeah, I'm just agreeing with what you were saying. Like, that whole scene just felt kind of like, I don't know, cheesy.
And I guess like to try to think of why they put that scene in there, because that therapist shows up later, but not really in any sort of critical role, except for, talking about the emotional attachment of Katie. But I guess it was just there to show the struggle of the relationship between them. But we kind of already know that was there. So it kind of actually just seemed kind of like a useless scene, to be honest. Like, you could take that scene out and not really have it affect the movie.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that the therapist would come back later to talk about, Katie's attachment to Megan.
Yeah. I did have a thought about the movie this time that I don't think I thought about last time, which was the way that she talked about Megan kind of came across like an addiction. The way that she needed her. She was and then whenever she was away from her personality like changed entirely.
Especially towards the end, it's like she was legitimately like going through withdrawal. Like, it was, it was intense.
It's just so it made me think about like our addiction to technology, the need to like be on your phone all the time, the way that like swiping on apps like influences your brain chemistry. Man, I don't know if that's what they were going for with the movie, but her behavior made me think of like, addictive behaviors.
Yeah, well, it definitely it made me realize that, that's why we're doing this episode, right? Because everyone listening, like, they haven't gotten to Scary Movie Fright Night episode in a few weeks. And so people are going to start throwing phones and like, it's going to be crazy. So we had to release this episode so that people could have, a little bit more.
Are you guys going crazy? Have you started like pitching a fit because you missed us?
Don't worry, probably. We're just going to assume yes. Yeah, we're going to assume yes. And,
yeah, totally.
And if that's not true, then don't tell us.
That's what they put in the review. We are not addicted to you. We are not having withdrawals.
Nope. 5 stars.
Oh gosh.
Well, I guess so. The real reason we're here is to kind of talk about the differences. So we both found the same article. There's actually a few out there that say, what are the main differences? But I tried to catch them. I made I had my standard notepad with me. My mom was actually in town, and so she watched it with me. And so it was kind of funny because I tried not to pause it a lot so I could make notes. But because I'd already seen it, I didn't really have to. I mean, I think we kind of knew this going in. We knew that all the kill scenes were going to be gorier. Because I think we'd read that before. I was like, that was how they, kind of toned it down to make it PG-13.
But did you have any expectations around what was going to be different that were met or not met?
So I guess I didn't really think about like the F-bombs, right? So in the original movie, right, there's only one F-bomb, and it's made by Brandon when he's, they're at the park, just to show that he's like a rebel jerk kid. So it makes you feel a little bit less bad about him getting run over by a truck after Megan rips his ear off. But this one had a total of 8 whopping F-bombs. So, and definitely a lot by David, which is funny because his character seems like the one that would be dropping F-bombs the most because he's always yelling about something. Yeah. And so it wasn't surprised that like, I think 4 of them, if not 5, belonged to him alone. Which is kind of funny. Literally, when it cut back to him, I picked up my pencil because I was like, I'm going to tally some more.
And Megan got one of the F-bombs, right?
And Megan got one too. Yeah, she said something about like I don't have the quote here, but like
ripping your fucking head off or something like that.
Yes, right. When she's holding Gemma like kind of hostage, and they're like, Katie, don't come in here, and she was like, if you scream, I'm gonna Ricky. Yeah, I can't speak, but yeah. It made her it gave her a little bit more like, oh shit, Megan means business. Like she's not messing around. Which I guess is the purpose of F-bombs in general. But yeah, so I guess I didn't necessarily expect that. I expected the gore. nothing really surprising. And we'll talk about each of the deaths and what made them more gory. But what I thought really interesting is that when they made the unrated version, they cut back other scenes to add the gore back in. So the runtime is actually 6 seconds shorter than the original theatrical release.
What did they cut? Do you know? Do you remember?
No, I don't have the specifics, but it just, this article from Screen Rant talks about it. But I guess to make it the same runtime, but why wouldn't you just make it like, so the theatrical version was 1 hour 41 minutes 56 seconds. Unrated is 1 hour 41 minutes 50 seconds. So why wouldn't you just make it 1 hour and 50 minutes unrated and leave the other scenes longer? I mean,
yeah.
And it wasn't anything that we noticed, right? So it's probably nothing that really matters, but also just seemed kind of weird.
Yeah.
It seemed weird to me. Like, why would you why would you change the length of other scenes? But
I kind of thought that they were going to be I thought that this may just be me being naive with going into an unrated cut, but I thought that it was going to be like totally different murder scenes, like other characters getting murdered, like more murders. I thought that the plot was going to be not significantly different, but like essentially you watch the movie, it's the same movie. There's just a couple of shots that we see like more blood, more gore, or it lingers on something a little bit longer. But otherwise, the movie's exactly the same.
There were no other deaths. Yeah, that is kind of true, because I think in when we our original Megan episode, we talk about there were only really 3 big deaths, right? Well, I guess 4, because there's 2 with Dance Run Chop Chop, right? But so
Dance
4
Run Chop
deaths,
Chop for everybody is the elevator scene.
Yeah. If you haven't listened to our last bonus episode, we give out some awards, and that scene we dubbed Dance Run Chop Chop. I think we'll forever be referring to these scenes by the award name. But yeah, so just 3 death sequences, 4 deaths total, not counting the dog that we don't see. But even I don't know what a standard body count is for a slasher movie, but this movie approaches 2 hours and the body count's only 4. And so I think you're right. With an unrated movie, I would have thought maybe there's 1 or 2 more deaths and they just cut it all back. Kind of makes sense that they didn't. Also interesting to me that by adding in that gore and those, the F-bombs, like, why is that unrated versus R? And maybe it's just because it was never completed that way, and so they didn't have a rating. So I don't really understand the difference between an unrating release and an R-rated.
I have no idea.
Release,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I might be a little biased on the body count question because I was sick a couple of weeks ago. You can still kind of hear it in my voice a little bit. And when I was sick, I needed to kill some time, pun intended. And so I started rewatching Game of Thrones, and it's like every other episode, there's somebody's head getting chopped off. Yeah, your throat's getting cut. So many deaths. So then I come into this movie, and I was like, that was it? That was all? That was it? Those are the people who died? Come on.
You're like, that's like by noon in King's Landing.
What exactly. Where's all the killing, Megan? Come on. But no, it was. I do like this is a fun movie. I know we rated it low on the scary scale, and I think because this was early in the season, it was easy to kind of like dismiss it as like, oh, it's not very scary, it's not very serious, but it is fun. Like when she kicks into high gear and does her like starts doing the dance and like the music like starts pumping and she gets in the car and all that. You're like, it's fun. It's a fun thing to watch.
Yeah,
so.
it's entertaining. Yeah, it's an entertaining movie to watch. Like watching it again wasn't painful. When we do our highlight rewatch, we'll talk about that. But but watching it again wasn't painful. It was pretty good. It was a fun time. It was fun to watch it with my mom and like I don't think it's like low threat. She's been watching scary movies for 27 years because she's only 28. That's what I'm supposed to say. I'm supposed to say 28. She turns 29 tomorrow.
14.
Give or take.
That math still doesn't math. I'm sorry.
No, it works out. It works out. Just trust me. No, she had me when she was 2. So
let's talk about the differences. I wanted to go back through and talk about like the specific things that were different about the scenes and
which ones, death scene.
Yeah. Which ones did you, when you see it, were you like, oh yeah, I remember that's different from before, and which ones did you have to read about before you noticed what was different about it?
So I think that I pretty much caught it in every single one. So we'll kind of go in order, right? Brandon, the boy in the woods. As soon as they showed his ear ripping off his skull, I was like, "Yep, writing that one down," because that was obvious. Like it was like that's like some Evil Dead level of like gore and
It was
ripping.
obvious,
The
but
skin.
it was different.
Yeah, it was obvious to me.
And I think in the original, the first version, you could see his like ear stretching. Because I remember,
cut away.
But then it cuts away or something. Yeah, and this one we see the like blood as it like rips off of his head.
Yep.
Gnarly.
And then the neighbor one, I think the original, like it didn't even show much at all because she uses the pressure washer.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of blood.
Yeah.
So definitely when it was melting her face away, I was like, oh, yep, that's gross. That was not there. The part that I didn't see this in the one article we looked at, but like when she nails her hand and it's showing her trying to pull her hand.
Yeah.
I don't know if I remember that because I feel like there's a bit of gruesomeness to that.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. I was like, that seems, I was like, I don't remember the whole nail gun thing. Well, I went back and I watched that scene in the original right after finishing the movie. She did take the nail gun and we see it like go into her hand. So we see her get like pinned to the ground or whatever she was on. Yeah. But in the unrated version, I think we get a closer look at it and we see it like 2 or 3 times or something. We see more of it and we see it closer. It's just a gorier look at the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they just enhanced it a little bit.
Yeah, they just gave us a little bit more. Kind of like with the face. We see more of the whole face situation with her skin
actually melting
peeling off. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was gross. Gnarly. Yeah.
David's death, I was a little bit confused about. So no, I'm sorry, not David's death. He gets stabbed from behind. Kurt's death. I felt like it had to have been more bloody because when she slashes his throat and blood starts squirting out.
Yeah.
I feel like that had to have been added in because I remember when the elevator scene, like it opens to the crowd of people and there's blood splattered everywhere and you're like, oh, blood everywhere. That was the same. But I think as soon as blood started flying, I felt like, okay, that we're adding in the gore.
Yes. So this one was pretty significantly different. First when she stabs the guy through the back, what's that guy? What's that character's name?
David.
Okay. So she stabs him through the back and you see the blade kind of come out through the front. And in the uncut version, you just like kind of barely see the blade and there's no blood. In the
PG-13.
Yeah, sorry, in the PG-13 one, it's like really chill. And then in the uncut version, you see the whole blade and the blood goes, you should go back and rewatch the two scenes side by side. The blood goes all over the elevator and like on the other guy's face. He's like covered in blood. There's blood everywhere.
When it hits his face, I remember thinking, don't remember.
Yeah. In the original one, no blood. There's no blood anywhere in the elevator, on his face, anything. The CEO just gets stabbed and he falls to the floor. And then in the original, when she kills, what's the other guy's name?
Kurt.
Okay, you're good with the character names, and I always forget.
I have it right here. That's why.
Nice. So Kurt, she tells him the whole story about like, I didn't kill him, you did, and then you were spilling company secrets, and so you decided to take your own life or whatever. So she tells the story. In the PG-13, she's holding the paper cutter blade, and she like puts it in his hand. And then forces his arm around and then like pushes it up through his like.
That's right.
Now we don't see it go into him. We just see her like thrust it up from the handle of the blade. But we don't actually see his face. We don't see him die. We don't see any blood or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So and then in the uncut version, she doesn't do the whole thing where he's holding it and she forces his arm. She just takes it and like slices his throat. And we do see the blood spew out, and that's the end of him.
Which, for the story's purpose, is less believable, right? Because, like if he's the one committing it, it makes more sense that he like decided to stab himself versus swipe himself. Like, get Dexter Morgan in there doing blood spatter analysis, and in like 5 seconds, he's going to know that someone about 4 feet tall sliced his throat.
Yeah.
I miss Dexter. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but that's good
not.
slasher TV at its best.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like an anti-hero. We're not going to talk about, but he's basically a blood spatter analyst. He also has this like dark passenger, and so he's a serial killer. But he was trained at a young age by his cop father. He only kills like people that deserve it, so people that weren't captured that do really really bad things, and then he chops up their body and like dumps it in the water.
Oh, that's dark.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. He lives in my. It's like it went on for like a billion seasons. Anyway,
Yeah.
right up my alley. Um, but yeah, the only other thing, a couple things that that this article talked about that I definitely agree with. Right. So one, I think that by adding the blood and the gore and the F-bomb and stuff, I think it makes Megan a little more brutal of a character. Like it adds to her brutality because it shows you the blood and gore, which leads right into kind of the final point, is that it kind of, the extra content turns Megan from a psychological thriller into a slasher film. And I read that line in the article and I was like, oh, 100%, because the blood and the gore made it feel slashery.
Yeah.
It gave it that like slasher vibe of, Michael Myers is slicing someone and then the blood splatters, or Freddy Krueger is cutting off his fingers and green stuff. Well, it's that's like pretty antiquated slasher, but you know what I mean? You get the point.
Yeah. We see the throat get cut. We see the ear get ripped off. Yeah, totally.
It feels very modern slashery. I watched the new Scream, and I'm not going to talk about it because you've seen none of them. But yeah, that modern slashery, like stab and blood and things. So modern psychological thriller versus modern slasher. That's kind of the difference.
Yeah.
So I guess to wrap up, right? So was it a better movie? Like, what are your thoughts? Like from your Sam perspective, from your scary movie perspective, having gone through the whole season, like, did you prefer one to the other? Does one make a better horror film? I don't know. I'm kind of torn, but I'm curious to see what you think.
I think I liked this uncut version better. When we watched the first one, it was early in our scary movie journey, and I was kind of skeptical about it. I was like, I wasn't really scared. The whole thing was just kind of hokey and silly. And I think after watching more scary movies, seeing more of these like slasher scenes, being exposed to a little bit of gore, nothing too intense yet, thankfully.
Not yet.
Not yet. I think this one brought just a little bit more. Like you said, the character, there's a little bit more brutality to it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I guess I like that a little bit more. It's
That's funny.
It's that Game of Thrones coming out.
Yeah.
I liked it. What did you think? Which one did you prefer?
Well, and I think now that you mention it, well, first of all, I think I'm all about the slashers. I think that the other thing too is, without the extra blood and brutality, it kind of makes the PG-13 movie a little weird. Because there are plenty of PG-13 movies that capture fear in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, you kind of expected she's chasing the kid through the wood, and then like she's just kind of stretching his ear, and then it just cuts away. It's like the kid version of a scary movie, which sounds weird, but you know what I mean? Like the PG-13 kind of felt incomplete in that manner. I think this one completed it a little more and made it what it should have been. So I think turning it into a slasher film, there's probably other ways they could have gone about it and added more edge of your seat stuff. But as far as like judging one versus the other, I mean, I think I prefer the one with the blood and stuff, because I just think that it makes it more horror-y.
Yeah. Horror. Did they cut the part where she is like running through the woods on all fours?
No, that was in there.
That was in there? I was texting during the movie. Yeah. I think I missed it. I just
fine.
thought about that though, because that was kind of an iconic moment in the movie.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you mention it, because that the way I knew that it was there is because when that scene hit, I told my mom about what you'd learned, right? About how like during the filming, the actress just started doing that, and then they were like, "Oh, we're definitely implementing that."
Yeah.
My next question, it kind of relates, like, does the extra blood make it scarier? I don't know. Makes it slasherier. Makes it slashaholic.
Yeah, I don't think
slasher bash.
I don't think this one. I mean, I just didn't get scared. I didn't get the adrenaline. I didn't get like my heart rate wasn't pumping. There was, I don't like. I didn't want the dog to die.
True.
It's kind of the thing with like kids. I don't like kids being vulnerable, and so the dog, even though the dog had bitten the little girl, when we see him at night in his sweet little doghouse, and something's about to happen, I'm like, oh no, not the dog. I mean, I knew it was going to happen because I'd seen it, but I don't know. That's probably the closest moment of like feeling like, oh no, I don't want that to happen. But I didn't get nervous or scared. This one,
Yeah.
no.
It keeps about the same rating. It is. I mean, entertaining watch, but
Yeah.
I agree. One other note to circle back, that actually relates to the more blood, and I actually kind of noticed this when I was watching it, but I didn't think it was a difference until I read it in the article. But it says that there's more CGI in the unrated one.
Oh,
Gorier kills requires more blood, which requires more CGI. And I didn't necessarily notice it during the kills, but there were a couple times when her face just seemed a little bit different than the other times. And I, it wasn't a showstopper. It's not like in those moments I was like, oh my God, too much CGI. But I just thought it was interesting that I did notice was a couple times where it seemed, in hindsight, a little more CGI'd. I don't know if that particular, if that part was more CGI than the original, but it is interesting that, they had to use more CGI. But of course that makes sense because unless she was killing people for real, which pop quiz, Sam, you learned this earlier last season.
oh, I know
What
what
is
you're
it
gonna ask
called
me.
when a real person is killed on a video?
It is called.
You're gonna get this.
I am gonna get this.
I believe you. I believe in you.
A necronom nom nom.
Nope, that's a book.
Ah,
That's a
wait,
book
wait,
of
wait.
the dead.
I know this. It's a something video, right? It's a
Or a film, yeah.
Oh, snuff.
Snuff film. Yeah.
Oh yes. Wow.
Well done.
I don't know why you saying film made it come to me because snuff and film go together.
Yeah, because
I
there's
was
no other
thinking
time you would
video.
ever say film or snuff.
Well, you wouldn't say snuff video, I guess.
No.
You said film, and it like
could.
triggered it. It was like, oh, that's.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad that I remembered that little piece of trivia.
Yeah. Well, good job. If
Did
you
I
wouldn't
send you the
have remembered it.
of the necronom nom nom that I found?
Yes, the
I
book, the
did.
cookbook.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you buy it and cook me a meal? No,
I didn't.
You said you were too sick to cook me a meal out of the Necronom Nom book, but that's fine.
I was like, I don't know if these recipes are like that good.
Well, I mean, you can make everything better. Just put some hot sauce on it or something.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Well, you got any other tidbits for our friends at home? No?
I don't have any other tidbits. That was it. Megan was fun. Go watch it. Go watch the unrated version. You can handle it. And that's all we got.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us for this fancy pants bonus episode where we took our most popular most viewed, our most listened to episode from season 1 and got to watch an unrated version. If they would just release multiple versions of all these movies, then we'd never have to watch a new movie again, and it might get actually a little bit boring.
Do you have any teasers you want to share about season 2 yet, or wait until our next bonus episode?
Ooh, season 2, it's gonna be a good one.
That's it. I wanted details. I wanted spoilers.
Sam wants to know because he doesn't know what kind of themes I'm working on. Still waiting on some feedback. If you wanna come up with a good idea for a theme or a couple movies that fit in that theme, email us at scarymovieFrightNightPod@gmail.com. Make sure you use the subject line theme. And if you come up with a good theme and I can incorporate it, then we will, and we'll give you some credit in season 2. But no, we're hard at work trying to come up with some new exciting themes so we can expand Sam's knowledge from 13 to infinity.
Oh my gosh.
But
no pressure.
But we got some fun stuff coming up.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us for this bonus episode, and we'll see you for the next one.